In this segment of Under Two, we're going to talk about three different plays with three different rule references. This is from this past weekend's game, Alabama State versus Jackson State, SWAC football. Really interesting plays that have very specific rule references. And these are plays that happen fairly frequently, but it's not things that we think about. So just want to point out a couple of things here. First one we're going to look at is a kickoff out of bounds. And we can see the team was kicking off from the 20. This was following a safety. Okay. So we look at again, it's kind of difficult to see the ball maybe, but the ball bounces and takes a large hop at the 14-yard line and goes out of bounds, airborne beyond the sideline. And then we see player number 4 touch the ball. So what do we need to know here? Is this a kickoff out of bounds or not? And we just look at it again. Takes a large hop. Player number 4 touches the ball. Okay, so what does the rule say? This is FR 62, Rule 4-2. The loose ball is out of bounds when it touches the ground, a player, a game official, or anything else that is out of bounds. So what we saw is that ball did not touch anything except a player. So if the player was out of bounds, then the ball was out of bounds. How do we know if a player is out of bounds? We can see up at the top in Rule 4-2, but we can also go to Rule 2-27-15. This is on page FR 43. A player is out of bounds when any part of his body touches anything other than another player or game official on or outside a boundary line. So then if you go down to Article B, Article 15B, an inbounds player is a player who is not out of bounds. And we just defined a player that's out of bounds. So let's go back and take a look at the play and break it down a little further. Okay, here we go. Again, we're kicking off. As we already mentioned, the ball didn't touch anything except a player. Let's see if I can annotate here. This is the ball right here. Then if we can step through it, what we'll see is the ball takes a large hop, as we already saw. Now, here's the important thing. When this player touches the ball, was he out of bounds? And what we can see is that his right foot is in bounds. His left foot is off the ground right now. Let's see if we can step through this. Let's go back. We can see right foot inbounds on the ground. Left foot, the only way that he's an out of bounds player is before he touches the ball, his left foot hit down out of bounds. Very, very, very important that we understand that as we work this play, so that we know what we're judging. And we can see here the line of scrimmage official looks like he's in perfect position, looks like he's looking at the foot. So if this left foot is in bounds prior to this player touching the ball, well, he's an inbounds player. If his left foot is out of bounds prior to him touching the ball, then he's an out of bounds player. We don't have a shot up the sideline to confirm it, but we can see the line of scrimmage officials in perfect position to rule on this, but just want to make sure that we understood the rule references there. So again, the ball is in bounds until it touches something out of bounds. The player is in bounds until he touches something out of bounds. Very interesting play. The next play we're going to look at is illegal touching of a pass. Let's take a look at the play. See a screen pass. The offensive player bobbled the ball, and teammate number 75 caught the ball. And let's take a look. We can see number 75 is the left guard here, which means he's ineligible by not only position but also by number. Again, a bobble, and 75 ends up catching the ball. There's a couple other angles. None of them are as good as that one. You can see here again. Player comes in, bobbles the ball, 75 catches the ball. And I think I have one more angle. This one is probably the best shot of it. Player bobble the ball, 75 catch the ball. No problem, right? Well, let's take a look at the rule. FR 83, illegal touching of a pass. No originally ineligible player while inbounds may intentionally touch a legal forward pass until it has touched an opponent or an official. So when we look at this play again, did this ball ever touch an opponent? We would have to know if it touched here, touched the Alabama State player here. If not, the first time it touched anything was this player, and then 75 touched the ball. So if this ball was not touched by the defense at this point in time, then what we have is illegal touching of a forward pass. And of course, illegal touching is normally what we consider when the player goes out of bounds and comes back in. And then we know to enforce that penalty is just a loss of down at the previous spot. Well, this is a special illegal touching. And we see what the rule says. This is 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. This is not illegal touching when a receiver loses eligibility. An originally eligible player goes out of bounds and loses his eligibility. This is illegal touching when an originally ineligible player touches the ball. So this is a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, not just a simple loss of down. So again, look here again, and the decision point that we have to make, did the defense touch the ball? If the defense did not touch the ball, this is a foul for illegal touching of a pass. The last play we want to look at and talk about is defensive pass interference, and specifically penalty enforcement. Here we are snapping the ball from the +6, the B6, if you will. So now of course, we know penalty enforcement for defensive pass interference is a little different. Let's go back. At the top of the screen is what we're looking at, the number 1 receiver at the top of the screen. Side judge has a flag for defensive pass interference. Very good call. A hook and turn is what we see here. And we'll take a couple more looks at it. Hook and turn. We probably can go grab and restrict as well. And then we'll see the umpire putting the ball down as the referee is making his announcement. So let's talk about the penalty enforcement. Penalty enforcement is very specific. So when the ball is snapped on or inside the team B 17-yard line, what we say is the penalty from the previous spot shall place the ball at the 2-yard line. Why is that important? It seems like a very minor and inconsequential thing, but if we look here, the ball is snapped from position 3, and we talked about positions previously on an under 2 segment. The ball is snapped at position 3, so the previous spot is position 3. So when we have this foul and this penalty, and then it's time to go enforce it, and let's move forward. You see the umpire getting the ball. So if we previously snapped at position 3, And I will try to mark our positionings off again for those who did not maybe see the previous under two that we did. Beginning from the press box, position 1 is the hash. Position 2 is the upright nearest the press box. And when we say the upright, we're talking about the goal post upright, the field goal bar, whatever you want to call it. It is the upright nearest the press box. Position 3 is smack dab in the middle of the field, and also the goal post, which is right in front, right where the back judge is standing in front of. Position 4 is the upright furthest from the press box, and position 5 would be the hash mark furthest from the press box. So those are our 5 positions. And as we can see here, the umpire is putting the ball down at position 5. To correctly enforce this penalty, we would need the ball to be put at the 2-yard line at position 3, because that is where the previous spot was. So 3 very interesting plays with some very distinct rule references. And it's very important for us to really understand those distinct differences. First thing we talked about, obviously, was the kickoff out of bounds. When is the ball out of bounds? And how do we know it's out of bounds? The next one we talked about is illegal touching of a pass. We need to know that if an official or opponent of the team who's passing does not touch the ball first, originally ineligible players are not eligible to touch the pass. And then also, this last one that we talked about is penalty enforcement on defensive pass interference. We're talking about previous spot. And of course, the previous spot is very important to understand. It is a lateral position as well as the yard line that we're talking about. So 3 concepts to discuss. Hopefully this was something that was helpful and beneficial to you.